1. I was a store manager for a semi-well-known women's clothing store for 12 years. I left retail altogether 2 years ago. This story is several years old and takes place on Black Friday. The company I worked didn't really have any sales on Black Friday, as they always had clearance markdowns every week. As store manager, I was required to be there at 7 a.m. when we opened. I didn't get off until about 4 p.m. that day. I had closed the day before Thanksgiving, our store manager scheduled from corporate. We were told that any overdue layaways needed to be put back on the floor Wednesday night, so we wouldn't miss any if we were close to making our monthly bonus Saturday night at close. So I put all overdue layaways back. There were quite a few, as we had been extremely busy and hadn't put any back. I realized this meant no one had probably called our customers informing them their layaway was due. We always try to do this, but for some reason we hadn't done it, due to being busier than normal. For retail folks, this meant that we were up 15% for the year, up from normally 1 to 3% previous years. Anyways, Friday morning around lunchtime, EM enters. She comes up to the register after looking around and says she wants to pick up her layaway. I immediately recognize her as she shops at several of our company's surrounding stores. I remembered putting her layaway back as it was 2.5 weeks overdue. I told her I was sorry, but I cleaned out all overdue layaways Wednesday night. She went off on me, dropped the F-bomb a few times, called me and my employees idiots, you name it. She then says, "I want my money back then, in cash." I'm sorry, but as you know, our policy doesn't allow for layaway refunds to be given back in cash. It is required to be put on a gift card. Since when? Since the beginning of this year. She said she wanted to speak to my manager. I started backing up towards the store phone as I waved and told her I was the store manager. She says for me to get my district manager on the phone, so I called my DM, explained the situation, all the while the customer is speaking quite loudly and my DM can hear her. "Is that her?" "Yes." "Let me talk to her." "I don't need to talk to her. Tell her if she can bring her receipts showing how she paid every payment, I will allow you to give her money back with how she paid. Otherwise it goes on a gift card." Okay, let me know if she's okay with that, and if not, I am in the next town over store. I can be there in 10 minutes. Okay, bye. So the DM will allow me to give you cash back. EM smiles real big. But you have to have all receipts showing you paid cash. Her face falls. Okay, fine, I'll be back. I'm going home to find my receipts. All employees are looking at me like, wow. As I'm walking the store, I got to thinking, you know what, I'm going to show her some grace. I went and pulled her layaway slip, found everything in her layaway, and put it aside. She came back with her daughter. ED, about 20 minutes before the end of my shift. She walks up to me, tosses her receipts on the counter and says, "There, now about my money." "Well, I wanted to let you know that after you left, I pulled your layaway slip and went and found all your items. They had not sold yet. Here they are. But I want you to understand something. Yes, we could have called you to remind you, as I know you are a frequent shopper with our company. However, you see all these people in my store right now, about 20 to 30 people. Well, my entire year has been busier than normal for me and my staff. We have been doing the best we can. This is only going to get worse closer to Christmas. I want you to know that I did not appreciate being spoken to like I wasn't worth anything. I'm a human being, and I have feelings. If you cannot respect me and my employees and the job we are trying to do, you can leave and not come back to my store." Same goes for your daughter. She had been rolling her eyes at me and huffing the whole time I spoke. I will not tolerate blatant disrespect from my customers when we are following our policy and doing our jobs. I did not have to go and pull your layaway items for you, but I did because I wanted you to have your items. And if you don't want your items, then my assistant will take them right now and put them back on the floor. Y'all, she was floored that I would say that to her. She was quiet for a moment and spoke with her daughter on what they wanted to keep or not. She turns back to me and says, "I'm sorry for how I acted. You are right. I behaved badly, and for that I apologize. I will take everything in the layaway, and we can use the refund towards the final total. I want you to know that it will be a while before I do come back in here, though." I told her I understood, and that I hope we can have a good employee-customer relationship next time we meet. I ran into her at another store one day months later when I was helping the store manager out. She came up and gave me a hug and said she was going to come and see me soon in my store. She was in there the next week. 2. So for some background, the car wasn't mine, it was my brother-in-law's. He is suing her for 60 grand for the damages. I don't know the exact car model, but it's a muscle car, and it's manual. So it all started when I decided I wanted to start learning stick. Since my brother-in-law is the only person I know with a manual car, I had him come over and teach me. When the car starts up, it does make a rather loud rev. We made sure to do it in the afternoon as not to wake people up and try to be considerate. Anyways, it was about the 3rd or 4th day of him teaching me when she first appeared. Nice car. Bit too loud for my taste, but it's still nice. Oh, thanks. Mind keeping it down a bit? My baby doesn't really seem to like it that much. Yeah, sure. We've been driving in the day so it doesn't wake people up. I didn't know anyone around here had a baby, so I'm sorry about that. It's not a problem. Just be quiet, okay? With that condescending tone and smile on her face, she walked off. Which kind of made me mad because I thought it was just a friendly chat. It wouldn't be the first time people have talked to me about Bill's car, thinking it's mine. I've grown to accept that people will think whatever, so I play along and just tell Bill about it later. 2 days go by with no sign of her. I wake up, get ready, and wait for Bill to come over so we can start my lesson. We walk outside, and lo and behold, she was there. I thought I told you to keep it down. Sorry, I can't control it. It's just how the car starts, and we're not going to leave it running while we're not in it. That's a waste of gas. I don't care. Stop being so loud. With that, she was gone. It always annoys me when people complain about cars being loud. A car is a motor vehicle with a combustion engine in it. Of course it's going to make noise. Bill got to my place, and off we went. We came back to my place to eat lunch. About 2 or so hours later, my sister and Mom came over and tell Bill and I to go look at the car. The entire driver's side was scratched up, and even a tire was popped. Only one person came to mind when I saw it. Karen. We, meaning me and Bill, walked down to her house, which was only a few houses down, and knocked on her door. All we hear come from the other side is, "I'm not apologizing." So this led Bill to say, "Then you better have a good case in court, because that's going to cost a lot to fix, and I'm suing you for every fucking cent." Maybe keep it down then, you hick. Maybe don't go keying cars and popping tires, and you won't get sued, you bimbo. This went on for about 20 minutes. We head back, call the police, and get everything ready for what was about to come. As soon as they got there, we started to explain what happened, how I was learning stick, how the car was, showed them the damages, told them what Karen said, etc. We were making sure our side was accurate, so we made sure our timeline was correct. After a while, we walked with the police to her house, and it went down about as well as you could expect. "Excuse me, ma'am, can you come out here for a minute? This is the police department, wanting to speak with you about the car." "I'm not apologizing. I told them to keep it down and they didn't. They deserve it." "Ma'am, what you did is against the law and they are pressing charges. You have 5 minutes to get out of here, or we will get a warrant for your arrest and come back." "Nice try, but I'm not stupid. I know my rights, and you're not allowed to enter my home without my consent or a search warrant." "That's only partially true. We can't search your home without a warrant. However, if we have a warrant for your arrest, we can legally enter your home and place you into custody." She was stubborn. Again, they went back and forth for a bit. After the allotted time set, we went back to my house. The cops left to get a warrant, and we waited. Currently, the lawsuit is in order and the trial is in a few days. She's in police custody. I have never found it easier to drive a stick shift, knowing I won't have to deal with her condescending ways and tones. I'm sure some people think we were rude because we wouldn't keep it down. As I explained in the story, we tried to be quiet. We weren't being deliberately loud, we were simply starting up the car. That's it. We went back to my house for lunch that day when she keyed the car because we'd been away. We weren't driving the car loudly around the street. However, we won the case, we got the money, the car is being fixed, and she's moving. Her choice, not the judge's. 3. Some backstory first. So my dad works in the military and it sent us overseas. During this time, we lived in a number of places, but at the time of this story, we lived in northern Italy. My parents sent me and my 2 older brothers to Italian schools, and because of this, the 3 of us learned and spoke fluent Italian. But the first things we learned were cuss words. Now in Europe, you can buy some cheap plane tickets and could fly most places in Europe for cheap. My parents took advantage of these tickets, and the fact we were in Europe to go everywhere. By the time I turned 12, I had been to every country in Europe, Morocco, Israel, Jordan, Tanzania, and some places in Asia. Yes, I'm well aware of how lucky I am to have been to all those places, and to have done so many cool things. However, because of how often we were on planes and traveled, looking out the window on a plane wasn't all that interesting. So to keep us quiet, Dad got us each a Nintendo DS so we could play while we traveled. And now this is where our story begins. Me, I was 11, and my family were on a plane, can't remember where to. The plane was arranged so that there would be 3 seats on either side, and a place to walk in the middle. Me and my brothers sat together, I got the aisle seat, and my mom and dad sat on the other side with some nice guy. Me and my 2 older brothers pulled out our DSs after the plane took off. This apparently was the wrong thing to do, because when we closed the window and started playing on our DSs, an entitled Italian mom got mad. This lady was sitting behind my dad, and she was sitting next to her 16-year-old son, and what I assume was her husband. And when she saw me and my brothers not looking out the window, she immediately started screaming at my dad. Now, my dad didn't speak Italian, and she was screaming something pretty close to Italian. This woman was yelling about how this was her first time on a plane, and how me and my brothers were setting a bad example for her kid, who again looked to be 16, by not looking at the beautiful land below, and how we, me and my brothers, should be overjoyed to be looking at the plane because it was a rare opportunity. And we were wasting it, and how my dad was a horrible parent. I really didn't know why she had such a problem with 3 boys not looking out the window. My dad was confused and asked me to translate, so I told him what she was screaming about. My dad asked me to tell her in Italian about how this wasn't anything new for us, and we were being quiet. I, however, was pissed at this woman for being loud, rude, and for calling my saint of a dad a horrible parent. So instead of saying what my dad wanted me to, I said, in a very polite tone, in Italian, this. Listen, bitch, just because this is your first flight doesn't mean it's ours. We've flown many hours and we've looked out the window plenty. We have been quite respectful, unlike you. You have annoyed other people because some kids you have nothing to fucking do with have chosen to play quietly on their games instead of looking out the fucking window. Mind your own damn business, you ugly piece of shit. The woman sat there in shock for a few minutes, and then went back to her seat and shut up. My brothers were pissing themselves laughing, and my dad thought I told her exactly what he said, and was very confused at my brothers. We played our games in peace the rest of the flight. 4. I was hoping to avoid another entitled parent, but to no avail. I want to be clear. I am a 21-year-old guy. I enjoy doing random voices from time to time. This has been interesting because of small children's reactions. I do my best to make sure that the person on the receiving end is not uncomfortable with my shenanigans. While I was at work today, we were preparing for a corporate visit. All I know is they want to make sure we are operating safely, which is fair enough. As the day drags on, Jay and I felt bored. We start cleaning things that we all actively avoid cleaning. We were more than bored. Suddenly I get an idea. Voices.
Mr. J, could you grab the future-telling cookies for me?
Sure. This goes back and forth long enough for him to start doing a Joker impression. We end up doing this for a few hours. After a while, his mom comes in to drop something off to him. Hey, could you get Jay for me? I need to give him something. I know it's his mom. Sure, just give me a moment.
Mr. J, somebody is here to see ya.
Apparently, she heard me speaking like Harley Quinn. When we both came out, she was red in the face. What the hell did you call my son? Mr. J, why? That is not his name. You will address him as Jay, you sick son of a bitch. Mom, calm down. It's totally okay. No, it's not Jay. He should be calling you by your proper name. Look, I told Jay to tell me if he doesn't like it. If he doesn't, I stop immediately. It's only good fun if we both enjoy it. Well, I don't enjoy it, and I certainly don't think it is professional. I want to speak to your supervisor. I'm thinking, well, fuck, this is where I get fired. Somebody here to speak with you? Yes. EM tells the story how she saw it. So what are you going to do about it? BB, is this a you problem? No, I'm standing there lining up job options in my head. After the boss gets the entire story, ma'am, let me make sure I have this straight. You're upset because me is calling Jay by a form of nickname that Jay doesn't mind.
Yes, and he is sounding like a woman while doing it.
How does she mean?
Well, you see, BB, she's all upset because I'm calling him Mr. J like this.
Ma'am, they are both adults. They can do what they want. If Jay wishes for it to stop, me will do so immediately. Have a good day. EM turns around and storms off, but before she is through the door, Jay calls out,
I'll see you later.
Another stupefied customer of Firefox Browser Cafe. 5. At my first job when I was 17, I was a waitress for a small cafe in a small town. When this happened, I had only been working there a month. One day at 10 a.m., a family of 8 came in. We do ask any group bigger than 6 to phone to give us a heads up, but no, this didn't happen. I went over there once they'd been seated for 5 minutes and greeted them and asked about drinks. While I was there, I noticed this child leaning against what I assumed was their mother, and the child kept saying in a small voice, I still don't feel well. The child looked about 7 years old and was very pale. I asked the mother if I can get anything for them. She responded,
No, she's fine.
I left them to pick their food as I got the drinks. I filled a jug of water in cups, so the child could have some water if she needed it. I went back to the table with the drinks and to get the food order. As I approached the table, I saw a small fuss going on. The father, and I assumed grandfather, was cleaning liquid off the table. It smelled like sick, but looked like water. The child now looks even more pale than she already did. She looked like a snowman. That's how pale I was talking. She was crying to her mother, still very quiet but still crying that she felt sick. I kid you not, I heard the father tell the mother, I told you that she had a bug. I placed everything on the table and politely asked if the child was sick. You know, because health and hygiene regulations. The mother turned to me, snapping her head, and in a very Karen-like voice said, It's none of your business, she's fine. I was shocked. I got their food orders. Nothing was ordered at first for the child till the father spoke up and said, Can we get 2 pieces of toast for her, pointing at the child. I thought in my head maybe it was a good idea. Maybe she had been ill and has just got over the bug, so needed something to eat and she will feel better. I went and spoke to my manager, but he said to just serve them. Me being new and didn't want to lose my job for talking smack, I did as I was told. After serving them their food, I kid you not, no more than 5 minutes later I heard a commotion coming from the dining area. I walked in there and the child had been sick over the table and on herself. I went and told my colleague as I was still learning and didn't know the protocol over sick. He grabbed the mop and bucket and disinfectant spray with some blue paper towels. As we got there, I helped move the plates to a new table, as luckily none got on the food. My colleague tried handing the stuff to me. I told him there's no way I can clean that up. Just the smell of sick makes me sick. My manager wasn't happy they brought a sick child in the place, and disinfected the table and chairs after they left, and anything they used. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to the Impractical Proudness of Parents. Pop number 46. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Was planning on neckbeards this week, couldn't quite pull it together, but still in the work for hopefully next week. We'll see what we can do. Nearly there, hopefully next week. Now, if I can just say in relation to the story about the poor sick kid, now as far as I'm concerned, if the manager makes a call on the restaurant, even though an employee has expressed their concerns, then whatever happens because of that is on the manager. So if that kid throws up, manager gets the mop, bucket, disinfectant, and towels, and they clean up the vomit. You should certainly not be asking your employees to do something you're not prepared to do yourself. And believe me, I've had managers like that. I have had good ones as well, but yeah, The bad ones, meh. Okay, and with that, I'm gonna head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.